My stepmom used to yell at me all the time. Once I accidentally dropped a glass and she completely lost it, called me useless, worthless, shameless, even kicked me out of the house. But life had other plans. I ended up landing a really good job. My name's Jake Lawson. I'm 29 now, a lead data analyst for a tech firm in Seattle. But this story starts in a small town in Kansas, back when I was 17 and sleeping in my dad's old pickup because my stepmom didn't want me inside the house. After my mom passed, Dad remarried quick. Her name was Carol, a woman who smiled in public but turned into something else behind closed doors. She'd find fault in everything I did, the way I chewed, the way I dressed, the way I breathed. "God, Jake," she'd snap, "how can someone be this useless?" And Dad, he'd just sit there, silent, staring at his dinner like it might save him. He worked long shifts at a warehouse, came home tired, and avoided fights like they were fires he couldn't put out. I tried to stay out of Carol's way. My room was a small attic with a broken fan and a window that stuck half open. It smelled like dust and old insulation, but it was mine, my only safe space. That's where I used to sit with a second-hand laptop, learning how to code from free tutorials I found online. I didn't even know what I was doing most nights, just copying random lines and hoping they'd mean something someday. Then one night I dropped a glass while doing dishes. It shattered across the floor like gunfire. Carol came running in, her face red, voice sharp as a blade. "Look what you've done. You can't even wash a damn glass. You're worthless, Jake, just like your mother." That hit harder than anything. Dad told her to stop, but she just shouted louder. Finally, she screamed, "Get out! You don't belong here." So I did. I grabbed my backpack, my old laptop, and walked out into the cold. That night, I slept in Dad's truck, engine off, windows fogged, my hoodie pulled tight against the chill. I remember staring at the steering wheel and thinking, maybe she's right, maybe I really am nothing. But the next morning I woke up with something different in my chest. Not anger, not sadness, just a quiet fire. If the world thought I was worthless, I'd prove it wrong. I found a help wanted sign at a small computer repair shop near Main Street. The owner, a gruff old guy named Mr. Whitaker, looked me up and down. "You ever fixed a computer before?" he asked. "No," I said. "You good at learning?" "Yes, sir." He tossed me a rag. "Then start by cleaning the windows." And that's how my real education began, not in a classroom, but in that tiny shop that smelled like soda and old coffee. Working at that repair shop changed everything. Mr. Whitaker wasn't warm, but he was fair, the kind of man who believed effort meant more than talent. He taught me patience, precision, and pride in small wins. Every night after closing, I'd stay late, fixing old keyboards, learning software, teaching myself how to code properly. I didn't have Wi-Fi at home, so I'd tether my phone, watching tutorials until my data ran out. Months turned into years. I started freelancing online, repairing systems for clients, saving every dollar I could. Then one day I got my first real break, a remote internship for a tech startup in Seattle. When I told Mr. Whitaker, he just grinned. "Told you, kid. Useless people don't make it this far." I left town 2 weeks later with a suitcase, that same old laptop, and a promise to myself I'd never let anyone make me feel small again. I didn't know it then, but life was about to come full circle, because years later the woman who called me worthless would need my help. It had been almost 8 years since I last saw her. By then I was 26, living in Seattle, working full-time at a cybersecurity firm, and finally happy. I'd built a life from scratch. No help, no shortcuts, no one yelling in my ear. Then one morning I got a call from a local number I didn't recognize. "Hello, is this Jake Matthews?" a woman asked. "Yeah, who's this?" There was a pause, that kind of silence you feel. "It's your mom, your stepmom, actually." Her voice shook. I almost hung up. But something in her tone, fear maybe, stopped me. She told me her husband, my dad, had passed away 2 years ago. She'd run out of money, lost the house. Now she was desperate for a job. And guess what company she was applying to? Mine. The HR department had already forwarded me her resume. I just hadn't noticed the name yet. Linda Matthews, the same woman who once told me I'd never make it out of that filthy little town. Now she was the one begging for a chance, and I was the one reading her application. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. For a moment, I thought about deleting it, but then a slow smile crept across my face. Because maybe, just maybe, life was giving me the mic this time. A week later, she walked into the office. Same sharp eyes, same judgmental expression, only this time it was covered with makeup she couldn't afford and a smile she didn't mean. She didn't recognize me at first. Maybe it was the suit, maybe it was confidence. Either way, I let her sit across from me in the interview room, pretending I was just another HR guy. So, Linda, I began, keeping my tone neutral, it says here you have experience managing households and handling budgets? She nodded eagerly. Yes. I took care of everything after my husband passed. I just need a stable job. I'm willing to start anywhere. I glanced at her resume, then at her shaking hands. Anywhere, huh? I said softly. She smiled. Yes, sir. I just need someone to believe in me. That line hit me, because once upon a time I'd said the exact same thing to her, and she'd laughed, called me useless, told me no one would ever want me. I leaned back, folded my hands, and said, Funny, you used to say people like me didn't deserve chances. Her eyes widened. She froze, scanning my face, and when she realized who I was, her smile vanished. Jake, she whispered. Yeah, I said quietly. The useless, worthless kid you threw out. The room fell silent. She tried to speak, something about being sorry, about changing, but I stopped her. I don't hate you, I said. In fact, I should thank you. You kicked me out, and that's how I found out who I really was. Then I pushed her resume back across the desk. We're not hiring right now. She left without a word. That night I drove past the old house, boarded up, cracked windows, overgrown yard, and I smiled. Not out of cruelty, but because for the first time I realized revenge doesn't always mean destroying someone. Sometimes it just means becoming everything they said you couldn't be,